everybody. So today we're going to talk about cycles or life cycles through astrology or in astrology in a chart by way of looking at different charts, different types of charts. I don't really know if this has a correct term. It very well could. I don't really give a shit if it does or not. There are lots of things that I have what I call Eliisms for. So I'm going to explain what I'm talking about, what I mean when I'm talking about. If it has a term, great. If not, whatever. But I've been doing some looking into this for a while now on my own, both within my own chart and with the charts of clients. Because I think this sort of thing, looking at these cycles about what I'm going to talk about, is actually can be really, really, really helpful in kind of knowing what's coming up around the corner or what you might expect if you're going through a specific like solar arc or even transits. I'll be honest, I mean, you could do this kind of thing with secondary progressions too. Absolutely. I don't really really mess that much with secondary progressions. I really don't. I do look at the secondary progressed moon. I do look at that. But other than that, I don't really fuck with them. And the reason for that is the outer planets don't move in secondary progressions. They stay pretty much exactly where they are in the natal chart. Whereas in solar arcs, each planet will move a degree for however old you are. So, yeah, like if you're say 20 years old, and let's say we're talking about solar arc Pluto will be like 20 degrees from where it is in your natal chart. So it moves like each planet or thing moves a degree a year, essentially. That's like a crude way of explaining it, but you get the point. So that's kind of why I like those, because they do the outer planets are brought in here. So I've been looking at these cycles, and another reason why this has been on my mind recently is because I've been in my fundamentals of chart weaving course. The last few classes have been about like transits and solar returns and annual perfections. Annual perfections are another place where where you'll notice cycles. Like if a specific theme was a big deal, like let's say you're in an 11th house year like I am right now, I'm 34. Similar themes might be coming up this year for me that came up when I was 22, and also in an 11th house year. That's another way that cycles kind of, play in. Of course, there are other things going on too, like different transits, things like that. But you get the idea. There might be similarities. So I've been looking at these different cycles and things like that, and I'm drafting up the notes for this class coming up this Sunday on secondary progressions and on solar arcs. And so I'm thinking about these cycles a lot. These different cycles. And I've mentioned this in other videos. I currently have solar arc Pluto conjunct my ascendant. I know that some of y'all watching these have very similar things going on because you've left comments about them, and my heart is with you because I understand. But going back through these different cycles, like, because 20 years ago, transit Pluto was conjunct my ascendant. And there are definitely themes that are they are different. They are different, but they are similar. Like, I have this long blog post that I wrote about this to kind of, I'm not going to verbally say all this because I don't even know if I'll post the blog post. If I do, it'll be very, very, very redacted from how raw I have it right now. But I do feel like there have definitely been similar themes from 20 years ago that have come up now. Or over the past couple of years, I'll say. And I'll also say that some people that work with solar arcs, they only look at when the solar arc planet is 30 minutes from being exactly conjunct the natal planet or angle, and 30 minutes after. So you're looking about a window about 9 months or so. I look further out than that. I know that that's not how it's usually done, but I do look further out than that. And the reason for that is because usually you'll feel ripples of these things coming before they actually happen. And I do think to not look out a little further is, I think you should. So I usually look out 2 degrees applying and separating. Now that, of course, obviously, the closer that like the solar arc planet gets to the natal planet or the natal angle or whatever, obviously that's when the impact is probably going to be felt the most. But we do feel these ripples sooner than that. And they sometimes last longer than, you know, just 30 minutes separating. So I do look out that far. This does fit for my own life. This definitely has fit for clients too, that have come to me with things going on, solar arc things going on that they wanted to have looked at, or even just me pulling their solar arcs and noticing, okay, we can talk about this. That looks like it's coming up here in the next year. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Just kind of a heads up kind of thing. But there are definitely similar themes. Like if you've had like in my own life, I think back to 20 years ago, and while the position that I'm in now is different, the things that I've gone through as solar arc Pluto has been conjunct my ascendant are very, very, very fucking similar to when transit Pluto was conjunct my ascendant. They are similar. The only difference is I'm 34 now and not 14 or 15. And I actually feel like I have some power in my own life that I didn't have back then, you know? So there are differences, but there are so many similarities and feelings and themes. I don't know. I may or may, if I end up posting this blog post, and if I post this blog post, it's not like I want to make this really clear. It's not like oh, poor pity me kind of thing, because that's not the point of it. But it's to illustrate kind of what I mean by these cycles and how these might come around again. And I talk about myself here because I have clearance to talk about myself in my own situation, whereas I don't with anybody else. So that's why I use myself as an example often, because I can. I have the right to. But yeah, if there is a blog link below this video, do check it out, because it'll illustrate more of what I mean. And I bring this up because I do think that it's important. Like if you notice, say, let's say you're looking at your chart and you notice that, I don't know, let's say transit Pluto. It doesn't even have to be an angle, right? It doesn't have to be an angle. It could be like, I don't know, fucking Venus. Let's say you've got Pluto. Let's say you have transit Pluto conjunct natal Venus already. I don't know how long ago. What, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I don't know. 10, 15 years ago, whatever. And then you notice that solar arc Pluto is about to conjunct natal Venus. Okay, so you can sit there and think to yourself, okay, so some of those themes that I experienced with transit Pluto conjunct natal Venus might come up again when solar arc Pluto conjuncts natal Venus, as it's applying and as it's separating. But with the solar arcs, this is my experience with them, and this does appear to be my clients' experiences with them too. Can't say it's universal, but they do appear to be a little bit more of a slow burn. Even the faster moving planets, because I know that sometimes, like the outer planets, the generational planets, they tend to get thought of as more of a slow burn anyway, transit wise, because they do move so slow. I find that in solar arcs, regardless if it's an inner planet or an outer planet, there tends to be somewhat of a slow burn to it. And this does seem to be the case also for, this isn't just me talking, this also seems to be the case for clients that I've read for. So do keep that in mind. Do keep that in mind as if you're doing this, you know, going back through, like, it really is an interesting look, an interesting lens to look at your chart through. And again, now for solar arcs, I would, you can do whatever the hell you want. I do tend to stick with conjunctions. I do think they are the most dynamic. But if you wanted to look at other things, you could. I do think, though, for this, it is, I really do only mess with conjunctions when it comes to solar arcs. And I would do the same thing if I worked with secondary progressions a whole bunch too, probably. But yeah, it is an interesting thing. Interesting, perhaps even a little depressing, depending on what it looks like. But walk down memory lane. but it is an interesting thing, because it can kind of give you a heads up as to, okay, so this solar arc is coming up. Maybe I need to know to, you know, and I've already had this transit planet conjunct this natal planet before. Got the solar arc coming up. It might have similar themes to that natal planet being conjunct the transiting planet. Yeah, same thing could be said, and it doesn't just have to be like the outer planets that I'm talking about here. I mean, we could be talking about, like, I don't know, let's say we were talking about the sun, natal sun, with I don't know, solar arc Venus conjunct it. Now that's only going to happen once in your life. But you've probably had transit Venus conjunct your sun several times. So thinking back to, thinking about what it's like when transit Venus is conjunct your natal sun might give you an idea as to what solar arc Venus conjunct your natal sun might be like. But keep in mind that solar arc Venus conjunct your natal sun is going to last a lot longer. It's going to last a lot longer than transit Venus conjunct your sun. So if transit Venus conjunct your sun is a good experience, generally, then the solar arc might be a good experience. If transit Venus conjunct your sun is not usually a good experience, for whatever reason, then you might be able to expect a similar sort of theme or thing when solar arc Venus transits your, conjunct your natal sun. I do think these are important things to look at, and it can help you and anybody that you might happen to read for kind of get a good handle as to what's coming up around the corner. And plus, I think cycles and patterns and things like that are really fucking interesting to look at anyway. I've got Pallas conjunct the GC, so that might be why. But I think it's very, very interesting to look at these things. But yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and head off. But I'll put where you can find me below. And yeah, I will see you all later.